live in a world that craves certainty. We believe in cause and effect, that a flick of a switch will light a bulb, that the sun will rise tomorrow, that our actions will have predictable consequences. Our entire reality is built upon a foundation of what we assume to be logical connections. But what if this foundation is built not on reason, but on habit? What if the most fundamental truths we hold are nothing more than a powerful yet unproven belief? History has given us a man who dared to ask these questions, a philosopher who, with a gentlemanly air and a devastating wit, dismantled the very scaffolding of our knowledge. He was a skeptic not out of despair, but out of a profound intellectual honesty, forcing us to confront the limits of our own minds. Today, we step into the grand intellectual salon of the Enlightenment with David Hume to discuss his masterpiece, a treatise of human nature and the power of habit over the dictates of reason. Born in Edinburgh, Scotland in 1711, David Hume was a central figure of the Scottish Enlightenment and one of the most influential philosophers in Western history. A voracious reader from a young age, he was educated at the University of Edinburgh, but found the formal curriculum unfulfilling. He pursued his own intellectual path, a journey that led him to France, where, at the age of 27, he wrote his most famous and controversial work, a treatise of human nature. Hume's ideas were so radical that the book was initially met with a stillbirth, as he famously put it. Undeterred, he went on to publish essays on history, economics, and politics, and became a celebrated historian and diplomat. Despite his public success, his philosophical legacy as the great skeptic, a man who challenged our most fundamental assumptions about reason, morality, and even the self, is what has endured and continues to shape modern thought. Our conversation today will be centered on David Hume's A Treatise of Human Nature. Published in 3 volumes between 1739 and 1740, this work is a breathtakingly ambitious attempt to apply the scientific method to the study of the human mind. Hume argues that all knowledge begins with experience, and that our understanding of the world is formed from a continuous stream of perceptions. In this text, he presents his most famous and controversial arguments, the critique of causality and the problem of induction, which suggests that our belief in cause and effect is not a product of logical reasoning, but of custom and habit.
Mr. Hume, thank you for being here. In your treatise, you famously dismantle our notion of cause and effect. How can you argue that we don't know for certain that one event causes another?
We observe a constant conjunction of events. The billiard ball strikes another, and the second one moves. We have seen this countless times. But we never actually perceive the necessary connection, the force that makes the second ball move. We simply infer it from repeated observation. Our belief that the first ball causes the second to move is not a logical conclusion, but a psychological one. It is a powerful habit of the mind.
So, if I drop this pen, I don't know that it will fall to the floor?
You believe that it will fall, and with very good reason, but you do not know it with absolute certainty. The belief is based on your past experience, not on some a priori truth. The sun has risen every day, and we believe it will rise tomorrow. But we have no logical proof that it must. Nature could change its course.
This seems to lead to a total skepticism, a world where we can't be sure of anything.
That is the philosopher's conclusion, yes. But nature is kind. It does not allow us to remain in this state of doubt. We are creatures of custom and habit. We are compelled to believe in a world of cause and effect. My purpose is not to destroy that belief, but to show us where it truly comes from, not from pure reason, but from a powerful and useful instinct.
What about the self? Do we have a coherent, unified self that persists over time?
I argue that the self is nothing but a bundle or collection of different perceptions which succeed each other with inconceivable rapidity. When I look inward, I never catch myself without a perception. I see a thought, a feeling, a memory, but I never see a single unchanging I. The idea of a continuous self is an illusion, a kind of mental fiction we create to make sense of the constant flow of our perceptions.
This is a radical idea. Why is it so important for us to recognize the limits of our own reason?
Because it teaches us humility. It shows us that many of our grandest philosophical and religious beliefs are not products of logic, but of faith and emotion. When we understand this, we are less likely to be dogmatic. We can be more tolerant of different beliefs and more aware of our own biases.
You also wrote about morality. How can we have a moral system if it's not based on reason?
Reason is a slave to the passions. It can tell us how to get what we want, but it cannot tell us what we should want. Morality is based on our feelings, on our natural human sentiments of sympathy and fellow feeling. We call an action good because it pleases us, not because it conforms to some abstract rational principle.
So, moral values are subjective?
They are subjective in the sense that they are a product of human nature, not an external law of the universe, but they are universal in that all men possessing the same passions and sentiments will come to the same conclusions about right and wrong. We feel approval for generosity and disapproval for cruelty. These are moral sentiments, not rational deductions.
What is the distinction between impressions and ideas in your philosophy?
Impressions are the strong, lively perceptions of our senses, what we feel, hear, see, and touch. Ideas are the fainter copies of these impressions that we have in our minds. My core principle is that all our ideas are derived from impressions. A man who has never seen the color red cannot have an idea of red.
So, all knowledge ultimately comes from our senses?
Yes, all of human knowledge is a product of our perceptions. Reason without the data of our senses is an empty exercise. We are, at our core, creatures of experience.
You are a strong critic of miracles. Why?
A miracle is a violation of the laws of nature. The laws of nature are established by a very strong and consistent stream of human observation and experience. A claim of a miracle is a claim that this stream of evidence is wrong. It is always more reasonable to believe that the testimony of a man is false than that the laws of nature have been violated. It is a matter of weighing the evidence.
You were a man of great wit and charm. Did you believe that philosophy should be an academic pursuit or something that is a part of daily life?
Philosophy should be a part of daily life. My goal was to make philosophy accessible to all people, not just a few academics. I believe that philosophy, when rightly understood, could make a man more thoughtful, more humble, and more compassionate. It should be a guide for living, not just a puzzle for the mind.
What is the role of custom and habit in a person's moral life?
Custom and habit are the great guides of human life. We do not act morally because of some abstract rational principle. We act morally because we have been conditioned to do so. We have a habit of sympathy, a habit of generosity, a habit of fair play. These habits are the true source of our moral life.
You wrote about the difference between matters of fact and relations of ideas. Can you explain this?
Relations of ideas are truths that are certain and necessary, such as those in mathematics and logic. They are true by definition. Matters of fact are truths that are based on experience and observation. They are contingent and can be otherwise. The sun rising tomorrow is a matter of fact. 1 + 1 = 2 is a relation of ideas. We can be certain of relations of ideas, but we can never be certain of matters of fact.
How would you advise today's generation, which faces immense suffering from war, disease, and political conflict?
I would say that reason is not your only guide. Your passions, your sentiments, and your sympathy are also a source of great good. Use your reason to find the most efficient way to help others, but let your compassion be the motive. Do not be paralyzed by skepticism. Trust in your natural human feelings and let them be a guide for your actions. A life of pure reason is a cold one. A life of passion, guided by reason, is a good one.
Mr. Hume, in our time, we are obsessed with fake news and misinformation, which seem to challenge our ability to know what is real. How would your philosophy apply to this?
I would say that it is a crisis of the most fundamental kind. When your impressions are based on false information, your ideas will be false as well. My advice would be this: be a skeptic. Do not believe in the truth of something just because it is repeated often. Use your senses, use your reason, and use your experience to guide you. And remember that the source of all knowledge is in your own perceptions.
If you were alive today, what would be your perspective on the debates surrounding the simulation hypothesis, the idea that our universe might be a computer simulation?
I would say that it is an interesting thought experiment, but it is not a matter of fact. It is a logical possibility, but there is no impression, no evidence from our senses that we are in a simulation. The idea of a simulation is a product of our minds, a kind of mental fiction we have created. My advice would be to live in the world you can see, the world you can feel, and the world you can know with your senses. Everything else is a mere speculation.
Closing reflections and summary. And so our dialogue with David Hume concludes. His philosophical project was not to tear down knowledge, but to build it on a more honest foundation. By revealing the limits of reason, he paradoxically gave us a deeper understanding of ourselves. He taught us that our most fundamental beliefs in cause and effect, in the self, in morality, are products not of cold logic, but of our very human nature. Hume's legacy is a profound reminder that the most compelling philosophical questions often have no easy answers. His skepticism forces us to confront the fact that we are not simply rational machines, but beings of sentiment, habit, and belief. Thank you for joining us in this exploration of the mind, and until our next conversation, keep questioning everything.